The first thing I'd like to do is tell you a little story. It happened in Australia, I believe. It's about a man who mowed lawns around his local neighbourhood. He cut grass. That's what he did. He mowed their lawns. But he wanted to be the best in the industry. So here's what he did. Firstly, he chrome-plated his lawnmower so that it shone and sparkled. Then he made sure his van was highly attractive by getting local signwriters to paint some nice graphics on the side of the van to attract attention. He washed and polished the van religiously inside and out every single morning before leaving home. He wore spotless ironed overalls, and he even had ironed creases in the legs. When he arrived at a customer's house, he'd don white spotless gloves, and he put a mat on the customer's driveway to rest the lawnmower on as he gently unloaded the lawnmower from his van prior to starting to mow the customer's lawn. If he had to go into the customer's house, he'd wear spotless little white cotton booties which he'd put over his own polished boots. The amazing thing was that he found he could charge almost double the price of his competitors due to this new lawnmower man image. Within a year or so, he'd attracted most of the lawn mowing business from the rich and famous, who owned the big houses with large lawns and who were proud to have someone like him cut their lawn. You see, when he turned up at a customer's house, he looked like £1 million. But you know what? He cut grass. That's all he did. He didn't do anything more than his competitors for the money. And he was even able to charge higher prices for cutting lawns than his competitors charged because he, and this is the important bit, because he drew a perception in the mind of the customer that he was a lot better than the other lawnmower men down the street. Whether he was or not is not for discussion here. What he'd done, of course, was to create a perception of something far more than being just a lawnmower man, even though all he did was cut grass. The reason I tell you this story is because if you are writing a business plan to attract some sort of funding from banks, business angels, venture capitalists, or anyone like that, you have to convey to the reader of your business plan why you are different, even, and this is the secret, even if you're just the same as everyone else in your industry. Being different, or conveying the perception that you're different, is at least 50% of the reason why businesses succeed and why business plans succeed. So it tends to be a big factor for the reader of a business plan, and as I've just demonstrated, you don't really have to be different, you just need to appear to be different. Are you a strategist or a doer? Now, I want to talk about this for a few moments because it's very relevant to business planning. Arguably, the business world is made up of two types of people, strategists and doers. And if you look at the wildest extremes, then the radical strategist tends to spend their whole time drawing up plans and reports to try and forecast this, that and the other, and putting every aspect of their strategy under a microscope and making sure that every possible angle is covered. The trouble is that a radical strategist never actually gets anything done. They spend their whole life strategizing, and their number one rule is not to start anything until they know exactly where they're going, what the implications will be and what the options of every move will be, backed by contingency plans and further optional strategies. Their strategy is to plan every single tiny detail from A to Z. In other words, a nightmare. Remember, we're talking extremes here. Radical doers, on the other hand, get things done and never give a second thought to strategy. So, are you more like the strategist or the doer? You'll probably find it easier to identify the people around you and where they fit on a line between strategist and doer than you can for where you fit, because it's sometimes difficult for us to see ourselves. The reason I'm mentioning all of this is because if you're a strategist, you'll probably agree that it's impossible to build a business without having a business plan. On the other hand, if you're a doer, you'll probably find every reason under the sun to not do a business plan. Frankly, I've known many doers who have built businesses and making fortunes while the strategists are still strategizing. My personal view, after watching hundreds of people spend many days, weeks and months developing business plans, is that for building a business, most of you should at least attempt an informal business plan, because it gets all of the jumbled ideas out of your head and onto paper. A small minority of you, usually the most entrepreneurial people, might be able to survive without a business plan, but the statistics show that it's probably not you. One of the most important things to realize is that business plans have no mystery attached to them. They're a story, that's all they are. Plain and simple, a story of how you're going to build your business, nothing more. If business planning has frightened you to date, then think of business planning as a story, because to be honest, that's all it is. A business plan not only gives you something to follow and clears